gentlemen, please welcome Council for National Policy President, Bill Walton.
Yeah, let's round of applause. All right, if we can take our seats, we can get started with another terrific evening. So Kelly, you going to come up and intercede here? Okay, let's go. All right. Let's see if we couldn't find a seat. We'll be able to continue the conversation during dinner. And afterwards at the dessert reception we're going to be having. So, should I sing Old Man River? Okay, I need Robert Alt. Would you? Could we get our table to sort of? Oh, I see. Jerry's the one that's slowing us down, getting a seat. Okay, let's get going. All right, everybody. All right, welcome to our Council for National Policy meeting dinner in California. And here we go. Let's hear about it. More. Okay, we're not only in California, we're not only filling the room, but this is a record attendance for CNP for a meeting in California. So we're glad you're all here, and you're glad you're all participating in what we've organized. Didn't we have some great sessions today? We had Robert Epstein scaring us to death about Google. And Brigitte Gabriel was terrific on the Middle East. And we're gonna, what's that table number back there that's still talking? Okay, guys, quiet it down. Wow, okay. Anyway, just to remind, Robert Epstein was great today in Google. We had a great panel at our Board of Governors brunch this morning, and Brigitte Gabriel was great on the Middle East and I think it was at about 3,000 words a minute. Was that right, Brigitte? She was fantastic. One of the issues is we've got so much going on here and so many people to talk to that you can't always do the things or attend the things you'd like to do. We had two terrific breakout sessions today, one on the Electoral College, headed up by Ken Blackwell, and then another one on big tech censorship, Brent Bozell. And what I'd encourage you all to do is go to the CNP website sometime next week and take a look at the videos we have of the breakout sessions. It's password protected, so we're protecting the information there, but there's a lot of content. In particular, we do have a big problem with social media and the big tech companies, and I think it's worthwhile for everybody in this audience to be incredibly up to date about what they are up to. Tonight we're going to have two presentations back to back, and then we will adjourn to a dessert reception afterwards, sponsored by Brad Phillips. Thank you, Brad. And our first speaker tonight, we have a real hero of the pro-life movement. I think you all know her, Marjorie Dannenfelser. Marjorie, as we know, is president of the Susan B. Anthony list, and in the last 3 election cycles, the SBA list and its super PAC, Women Speak Out, have reached more than 4.6 million voters, and I believe helped win the White House for President Trump, and also we've helped us secure a strong pro-life majority in the Senate, so thank you, Marjorie. She also serves with some of us on the coordinating committee of the Conservative Action Project, which is our action group, which meets every Wednesday and makes things happen week to week between our bigger meetings. She's also on the board of Alliance Defending Freedom, and she was a graduate of Duke University. Let's not talk basketball. Okay. She and her husband, Marty, who live in Arlington, Virginia, and have 5 children. Marjorie, would you welcome? Come on up.
Oh my gosh, this is so much fun to be in the CNP family. When I first got here, a bunch of years ago, was in Salt Lake City. Sandy Froman was the only person that I met. Sandy, who was the head of the NRA at the time, she was my only friend. And she was so good to me, she introduced me to everybody, and I swore I would always come back and be the Sandy Froman as much as I could for everybody else. So it's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much. There's so much good news. There is so much good news in the pro-life movement. And I'd like to begin by asking everybody who has or is leading in the pro-life movement or who has supported the pro-life movement to raise your hand. Take a look. Take a look. This is not a typical room. But everybody who has raised their hand, I want you to take very personally that the energy, the drive, the motivation, the perseverance, the prayer, everything that you have done to make this pro-life movement strong has been leveraged in politics to go from a place of utter defense to complete offense. Of course, I don't mean offensive. I mean on offense. So that when in 2014, our first election where we could really claim that the pro-life movement planted consensus pro-life issues at the center of Senate battleground states, Senate battleground elections in North Carolina, Arkansas, Louisiana, Kansas, that when that election results came in, we knew that it wasn't just a Republican victory, that it was a first pro-life victory where we could say that we were on the offense and the Democrats were on the defense. And that is because the organic energy, drive, love of, just forget that it's a movement for a minute and think about the love that we have for the unborn child, that foundational right for every other right, that we fought for that, and then we fight for that battle at the end of life, cleaving to life. That is what drove us for 47 years up until now, and still drives us, and why we now have a prize to claim. So I want to talk about Bill Walton for a second. So in the early 2016, after we had claimed a truly pro-life Senate, personality-wise very different from any previous Senate, because of its pro-life nature and its pro-life job, even making, and I will disrupt some opinions here potentially, but making Mitch McConnell and his leadership possible in the unique way that he is a leader for pro-life causes and judges. So here we are moving into the 2016 election, having pretty much clinched a really great pro-life Senate required for confirming judges. What we need now is a strongly pro-life president who will continue to nominate pro-life judges so that we can overturn Roe versus Wade and give the states of this country a new pro-life movement to begin to pass laws that save lives. So we're looking at the really deep bench, and we're wondering what they're like. So CNP, in its inimitable and beautiful form, begins to introduce us to all these candidates personally and in a beautiful way by coming and speaking to all of us. So I remember leaning against the wall next to Bill Walton when candidate Trump, CEO Trump, came to speak to CNP. And I was behind him, so I couldn't really see a lot because he's kind of tall. But I was predisposed to not like candidate Trump at all. And everything that I heard at that CNP meeting was about polls and, not policy. I got more and more incensed. Like, this is insulting. He's not even telling CNP, a policy conservative-oriented group, what he thinks. And I couldn't contain myself, and I just pulled on Bill's sleeve, and I said, "Can you believe what is happening here? This is outrageous." And he looked down at me, only because he's taller than me, and said, and kind of had this look like, take a chill pill. This guy is a performer. He's a performer. And it was just that, and that planted in my brain for all that time. But little did we know that this man, who is a performer and can incite audiences in ways we never even thought could be, would galvanize audiences in battleground states all over the country and put life at the center of the project. Well, that's beautiful news that he would do that. But of course, getting those commitments were really important. And he wrote a letter to me and the pro-life movement saying, these are what my commitments are. Before that, we were still stomping our feet, weren't we, Penny? Saying, not until we have these commitments are we going to move an inch. But we did. We got the commitments. We put those commitments at the center of our political strategy in presidential and at that year also Senate battleground states. And what happened then is that president, even before being elected, started to pull the people around him that we knew were authentic, beautiful pro-life people. At the top of the list, Vice President Pence, who we've known and revered for so many years. And with the Vice President Pence, you have a thoroughgoing pro-life person. Not just at the polls, not just when it's convenient, not when it's just going to serve a political consensus, but thoroughgoing in that it's so deep and wide and everything. He is the person that makes politics ministry. And I really believe that that's the case. So we had those commitments. We started to get to work. And as politics, everyone knows who engages in politics, especially in modern polarized politics, a handful of people in a handful of states make the difference between whether this nation will be a pro-life nation or not. And we won by really slim margins. Now, we're in a situation right now where it's exactly the same, but double down on that idea. Double down on the idea that a handful of people in a handful of states will be the difference between whether we are able to save the lives of each little boy and girl entering this world on the state-by-state level, and I believe on the national level also, whether we're able to do that or not. I believe so strongly that we will look back on this little span of months and say that was the time when we either pulled it out for the unborn child or we didn't. It's the time to double down on every single thing we do. And when it comes down to it, it's a pretty simple project. I didn't say easy, but simple. It's a very human person to human person, simple project in a handful of states. And my organization has taken very personally the idea of ministry is politics. And what does that mean? It means that these people, these handful of people, and also the people in this room, convincing the handful of voters in those handful of states door to door to door. By the end, we will reach 4 million, we'll have 4 million visits at homes in this country in battleground states, convincing them that the consensus issues in this nation that are pro-life, the ones voted on in the Senate just yesterday, where Democrats blocked saving the life of an unborn child accidentally born after an abortion, where Democrats blocked a completely modest proposal that you save a baby's life after 5 months in this nation, that we can't, they blocked our nation even standing for that. Those are the issues door to door that we are communicating. And one of the things that I think is 3 bits of great news that I'll end with. One is that I've never seen the pro-life movement more united than at this moment. Never. Now, I'm not, because everyone gets it. I wonder if sometimes if we get it like the other side gets it, because they certainly know what's at stake. I believe that our leaders, I see them all across the room, Students for Life, Penny, NIFLA, all of these organizations, we do get it, and we're working together so closely. So the good news is that when we see this as ministry, that we see this about souls, we see the door-to-door conversation converting somebody's vote, but also converting their lives. I will tell you story after story. When you go to 4 million homes, you're going to hear some raw stories and some deep need among pro-life people or marginally pro-life people. People who will close the door more over and over. I hear stories about closing the door behind an 80-year-old woman who says she 50 years ago had an abortion, and this is the first person that I have told. And while we want her vote, and we will get it, we also want her healing. I didn't expect that to happen, but it's happening. The other bit of good news, very strong political good news, which will result in saving the lives of children, is that the life issue is now inextricably tied up in the winning Republican coalition of voters now and in the future. We will not go back to what it was before. I don't need to tell you what it was before, but let me just give you a little bit tiny reminder that before we were viable up to a point, that we were patted on the head, put at the back of the bus, we got the checkoff marks, and then when we had somebody elected to public office, they kind of forgot who we were. That inauthenticity is a way of the past. Now it is not only the morally right thing to do, it's the politically smart thing to do, and we must keep it that way. And for that reason, I believe we will win this election. Now we will. There are 2 slides that show how close this is. Our canvassers are going door to door to talk to Republicans, Democrats, and independents, and this particular issue it transcends the partisan divide. It brings in Catholics who wouldn't normally vote that way in all places. So the margin in 2018 for the Senate for Rick Scott was less than 10,000 votes in a state where we went to almost 1 million people. Now everyone claims that they were the winning margin in that state. That's part of the game. But we have evidence. We know. Because we pre and post test, we know that we moved a winning percentage of voters in that state. And the next slide shows in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, where we have just in the last month launched our teams that combined in the 2016 election. We won by only 77,000 votes in those 3 states combined. In Michigan, less than 10,000 voters. And you can see how many voters we're going to visit in each of those states. So going to the right people with the right message, with an eye to ministry, knowing that when 2 or 3 are gathered together and you invite him in there too, every time we get the finger on the scale for life. And that's why I believe we will win this time. And it's also why when we win, we have further clinched this idea that we are the central part of the winning Republican coalition in every single race from here on out. I believe that we have a great, beautiful story to tell, and that we are at the beginning of a brand new pro-life movement. And that brand new pro-life movement is made of everybody who has been a leader and who has supported the pro-life movement up until now, and then generations ahead to make this the pro-life country that our founders wanted it to be. Thanks so much for letting me be here with you. Thanks, Bill.
That was great. That was great. Love you too. When we win in November, Marjorie, Penny, and the rest of the pro-life movement are going to be a very big reason why that's going to happen. And aren't we thrilled with this guy Donald Trump, who actually delivered on his commitment? Now, it was hard to believe, actually, when Marjorie and I were talking, he was telling people about his hair. It looks pretty good back here. It's real, right? And you're thinking, this is not going to happen. But it did, and, and it's working. So, whatever. So thank you, Marjorie. That was beautiful.